Good day, everybody. Meteorologist Robert Spetta here with WesternPacificWeather.com. It is currently the 10th of May, 2011, as we continue to track Tropical Storm Bebeng out here, or Tropical Storm Aere International. It is currently located just southeast of Taiwan, moving off to the north and starting to make its recurvature towards the northeast across the Ryukyu Islands over the next 24 hours here. Current winds out of it are estimated at approximately 35, gusting up to 45 knots, so just barely a tropical storm right now, basically a very weak one. And as you can see on this microwave imagery, very disorganized here. Actually, look at the center of circulation, which is located right in this region here. It's very hard to tell with all the banding here, as most of the outflow and the upper level support here is off towards the northeast and basically due south of the center of circulation. If we do look at some ship bobs out here, though, you can see that there is still a pretty dominant cyclonic circulation going around this, with some reports of upwards of a 20 to 25 knots on the eastern portion of this, where we are seeing that better outflow and the higher winds out here, and also much higher precipitation is taking place on the right side of this system. Yeah, according to a Taiwan radar, we still do have some rain showers moving onshore. They're shown here on the radar out of Taiwan, also showing some rain showers over the Ryukyu Islands. Actually, if we go over to JMA's radar as well, showing some rain showers and some heavy thunderstorms actually along the Ryukyu Islands here as well. If we go up a little bit farther towards the northeast over Okinawa, you can see that some of these thunderstorms are working their way in that direction. So it's a possibility by this afternoon and the evening over the island of Okinawa to see some of that heavy rain showers and thunderstorms actually associated with Tropical Storm Bebeng or Aere out here. But basically not expecting any landfall until tomorrow night and overnight as the system tracks over the region. But by that time, it's still continuing to expect it to be a weak tropical storm, if not a tropical depression, as it follows along the western periphery of the Western Pacific Eye out here. So basically just following that background flow off towards the north and then eventually towards the northeast, where it looks like it's going to skirt the southern edge of Honshu here. So not really going to see a tropical storm make landfall over the main island here. I know I've gotten a lot of inquiries here how that's going to affect the radiation out here. That's really just a lot of hype if that is going to affect these at all. You do have to remember this is going to be a weak storm as it moves over here. Nothing more than what a casual everyday thunderstorm would kind of cause out here, or any of the code surges actually bring winds across Honshu upwards of 30 to 40 knots every other week out here throughout the winter. So if anything, those would have more effect on the radiation out here than this very weak tropical storm at this time. Another question that's been asked often here is, why is this remaining stronger than originally anticipated farther towards the north? Well, here on the wind shear analysis, you can see about 10 to 20 knots of wind shear located over the system, and this is backed off significantly because earlier on this week you actually see about 50 to 60 knots of shear down here. But as the jet lifted towards the north here, the overall shear did back off, but it's going to encounter that jet here as it continues to track off towards the northeast with the westerlies here. Also noting the Kuroshio current, which runs from the southwest towards the northeast over the Ryukyu Islands here is giving a little bit more of that latent heat near the surface of the ocean here to continue to provide some of that warm core support for this system, basically as it continues to follow that current here, this warm current. So that's another reason why it is remaining at a very weak tropical storm intensity this far north. So I'm going to take you through all the agencies that are currently warning on the system. Actually, 4 official agencies out there. There also are a few other internet outliers that are warning on this as well and putting out their unofficial ones, but 4 official ones here, starting with JMA, that's the Japanese Meteorological Agency here, taking it off towards the northeast, just northwest of the Ryukyu Islands in here, specifically Okinawa. Also, I do want to mention Okinawa has been placed under Kadena on Okinawa for all the American viewers here on the military base there, has been under T-Core 3 for the last couple days. If this does remain an intensity of 35 gusting to 45, should not go any higher than that because the destructive winds should not arrive here, but just still noting that anything that's outside that is unsecure should be secured or taken inside and secured, because basically if you do have anything laying outside, it could become a hazard as it gets picked up by that winds. But much of Okinawa does get plagued by these code surges, as I noted earlier here, that does bring these gale force winds across the island. So really nothing different than that, only this is going to be accompanied by thunderstorms and occasional rain showers out here. But just here showing the JMA's warning on it. Also moving over to Taiwan, who is also warning on the system. system, track very similar to JMA's out here, just taking it off towards the northeast over the Ryukyu Islands as well, and basically taking it south of Kyushu and Shikoku before they stop warning on it on the 12th here. But just noting rain showers over the Ryukyu Islands here overnight on the 11th as well per their warning, and also taking it east of Taiwan. I know I did have a few viewers out here on eastern Taiwan that are kind of a little curious about this and if it's going to affect them, but as you can see on the radar earlier, just some outer rain bands that could move through the region, but as noted prior, much of the convection is off towards the eastern side of the system, thus less rain showers over Taiwan. But here just showing Pegasus warning on this as well. Now they're keeping it a little bit slower than with the JMAs actually showing on this, showing this move past Okinawa on the morning of the 12th, vice overnight on the 11th, just a few hours difference here. But just noting Pegasus is likely going to stop warning on this as well here pretty soon as it starts to move out of their warning area here and off towards the northeast. Pegasus usually just warns on the system if it is affecting their local region. As it continues to track off towards the north here, likely they are going to stop warning on this here. But also lastly, moving over to JTWC's warning on this, that is a Joint Typhoon Warning Center out of Pearl Harbor here, warning on this, and they're really expecting it to track directly over Okinawa here with tropical storm force winds overnight on the 11th, actually pretty much in the evening here, looking at landfall right around about 1900 Japan Standard Time here in Okinawa. That would be about 10 Zulu here. So just one thing I do want to note, you're not going to have a completely night landfalling system here, but it should be in those wee hours of the evening here as this continues to track over the region. So just as already noted though, this will continue to track northeast south of Honshu. That is fairly confident on that as it becomes extratropical and basically gets sheared up by the westerlies here. Could see some increase in the gradient induced winds over much of the Kanto Plain on the 13th here as this moves through the region here. And actually look at JMA's surface analysis here, already seeing much precipitation across the Kanto Plain and much of Honshu today as an area of low pressure moves across northern Honshu. Now this is a baroclinic low, nothing to do with the tropics down here, but basically that stationary front extending off of that is the reason why the system is going to track off towards the northeast here and kind of ride on the southern periphery of the stationary front right here that's lingering over Honshu. Actually here in the Kanto Plain we do continue to see rain showers today off of this front here as well. So just one thing I do want to note is just going to be kind of an increase in winds and precipitation throughout the region there. But looking a little bit farther towards the south here over the Philippines today, a much clearer day. Still have a few outlying thunderstorms here popping up over Visayas and northern Luzon. Actually have a big cell right in here just off the west coast here, but much clearer in the wake of this system as well. Sadly, I do want to know unconfirmed of up to 15 casualties coming out of this system right now, so really sad news there. And also some reports of injuries and plenty of reports of flooding out here, even in the city of Makati just east of Manila here. Just saw some videos of some widespread flooding in there, so really kind of a dangerous situation still. Actually, I've seen some cars trying to drive through some of the flooded roads, and that's always kind of a bad move and also always a bad decision. I know that sometimes you don't have any other options, but really all you need is just 1 inch of water and that car could just pick up and kind of float away if you do have any currents out here. So just one thing I do want to mention, continue to stay safe out there in Manila if you do still have some of that water continuing to sit around and flowing through the streets there, because it always could add up into a dangerous situation, and we do not want any more casualties coming out of it. But that is all for right now, everybody. Thanks again for listening to WesternPacificWeather.com. If you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, as always, you can post them here on the website or on the YouTube channel. Also posting this at storm2k.org. Link below if you want to go there and have some meteorological discussion on this. And lastly, I do want to mention, I haven't been mentioning this enough, is that I am not an official source of this information here. Please check your local warnings and your local agencies on these tropicals out here for any warnings or any evacuation orders coming out of there. So just want that as well. But thanks again for listening, everybody. Stay safe out there. Have a great day.